Hello, this is Harold H.B. Bell, and we are live on the Spectrum, and this is a podcast bringing you as much information as possible to make autism learn just a little bit easier. As I like to say, I'm here with Dr. Jane Yip, the owner and founder of Autism Parent Care, and we're in video 2 of this great series, trying to make awareness and some sense out of the nonsense that seems to be autism. Jane, in the last video, we was talking about what is autism, and you gave some very, very good answers about what autism is. I guess we need to know now, if we find out autism is in our household, what do we do?
Well, if you see signs of them, let's say your child would not respond to you, does not seem to be interested in you, will not say hello, then it's time to get diagnosed. So, you would go to either a physician, an MD, or a psychologist for diagnosis. Okay,
now is this information easily and readily found? Because I know, we talk so much, you and I talk so much about information and how to access it. And we have families and people who are just dealing with the everyday strifes of life. Would they know, or can we make it easier so they'll know where to go to get diagnosis and get some information about their child?
Unfortunately, not easily found. However, Autism Speaks actually have a lot of information on autism and diagnosis. There's also Autism Society of Indiana, but they are not easily found. So we do make attempts to provide information. You can contact us, look up our website, Autism Parent Care, and we can direct you to diagnosis.
And that's one of the reasons that we're bringing you the Spectrum, because we understand how difficult it is to access information that you truly need to help you and your loved one who might be dealing. As I mentioned, there is no cure, and you talked earlier in the first video about ABA therapy, the gold standard in the industry. Please describe that to the parents and the listeners out here so they can get a little bit better understanding.
Okay, I would like to actually visit what you have said about no cure. There may not be a cure per se, however, the person affected can improve to such an extent that they are indistinguishable from somebody who is neurotypical, who does not have autism. So they may still have their idiosyncrasies, the way they think, however, they can function just like any other person. So that is actually good news. Autism is absolutely treatable. And what was your question again?
The one question I was asking is, the ABA therapy and what makes it unique in the treatment of people who are dealing on the spectrum.
Yep. ABA therapy is a gold standard treatment for autism. The reason it's unique is because it helps people, train people to behave in a certain way. So let's say you have difficulty speaking, right? And so ABA therapy program break down the steps that you need to have in order to get to the speech. There are lots of many steps, and ABA therapy actually ensure that you are able to perform each step. When you trained on the behavior you are supposed to have, and you keep practicing that hundreds of times, you will get there. And let's say the deficit is maybe playing with other people, sharing. Well, guess what? If you keep practicing sharing, you will have the skill. And then soon enough, you will be able to do it yourself. And that's the type of changes we are looking at. And ABA therapy has been shown by research and by practice through our company and many other companies in the world that it remains the best choice.
I would like to use the example chaining and training the mind, starting to link different things together so the child can not only drink the water, but know that the cup is for drinking the water, if that makes any sense. And so those are things that if you're not dealing with someone on the spectrum are major, advances when you get to have someone to learn some of these items and start putting 2 to 3 things together. Now, are there any other methods? I know that we have the Montessori training out there, which has been around for a long time, maybe a different idea or method of training children or trying to educate children who have autism. Is there anything else out there that we need
Yes,
to know?
there are others, and by putting forward, because I'm a behavior analyst and it is my bias, however, by putting forward ABA therapy, I'm not discounting other approaches. Yes, the Montessori educational system works for people on the autism spectrum because it's practical and it uses kinesthetic part of learning. It is less reliant on verbal instruction, which they like, and they are able to see the result of their work.
And if we know anything about autism, and if you don't, the spectrum has a broad, vast range of from highly functional to pretty much what would we call it? On that far end, where just uncontrollable.
Yeah, from highly functional, which you may not be able to tell they are on the spectrum. They may have a few quirks to really challenge in function, not able to speak, lots of aggression, lots of emotional outbursts, and not able to have life skills, So we have a spectrum.
And one of the reasons I brought that up, Dr. Yip, is because when we were mentioning Montessori, just so the listener can understand, different trainings for different, and those children who are on highly functional, Montessori seems to work very well for them because they already have a sense of what they like, and they're kinetic about what it is that they're around, so to speak. So
yes, the Montessori philosophy is student-directed interest, right?
Yeah.
In the work. So projects are displayed on the shelves and the student go get them. So you have the initiative. And it's a good thing because we want students to have initiative.
And teaching around what they're like and what they're involved in and interested is pretty much the theory and the thing behind that. Yes. One last thing in this segment, because you have gone into some cutting edge science and you do brain mapping. I would love for you to just share a little bit about brain mapping and what it allows you to do before, as part of the diagnosis.
I have done research on the brains of people who have autism, who have been diagnosed with autism. So I am very much interested in the brain. And autism is a neurological disorder which affects different parts of the brain. There are the language center in the brain that can be affected, the emotional center, frontal lobe, which is thinking and judgment, and then the social center, and also sensory centers. So everyone is affected differently in all these centers. Brain mapping using a brain imaging modality allow us to see what centers are affected. Then once we know where it is affected and the severity that it is affected, we can have a good understanding of the person that we are going to treat. So this allows us to have the empathy, the compassion to then take them to the next step. So brain mapping is a very good way to look at also, after we have done ABA therapy, how have their brain changed? And in fact, B.F. Skinner, who is the founder of behaviorism, has spoken about the future of behaviorism, which is being able to look at changes in the brain. And that day has arrived. And we are happy to announce that in our clinic, we visualize the progress made through ABA therapy on the brain. We can look at how much the brain has rewired, and this gives us an added advantage in helping them get better. In fact, when we are able to see what happens in the brain, we can reach our goal quicker. And in our hands, we have students who are completely nonverbal and in 2 years' time, able to speak in full sentences, able to read, and also able to go back to their mainstream classroom. in our
And
hands.
that
We
is
have
the-
had students.
And that is the quest and the goal, and we're going to talk about some of those great students here in another video because we have seen some results that are remarkable. But these are some of the things that we know. So I think that as we move forward with these programs and these different subject matters, that you're going to be interested to find out just a little bit more about the spectrum and what we're doing here at Autism Parent Care.